Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King and Daniel Mangina. Today is Tuesday, May the 19th, 2020, 4 p.m. New York time, or a little thereafter. And wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we're happy to have a fourth person with us here today. One of our regular listeners, Josie, is going to be sharing some of her poetry with her. And she's excited. She's smiling. She's logged in. How's it going, Josie?
It's going good. Taking it a day at a time. Each day I wake up, I have breakfast and have tea and do some journaling. I'll go for a walk, watch some TV or movies, read a bit and write a bit, and go for another walk, do some nighttime journaling.
You're really dedicated. I mean, seriously, you are going after being in a good place no matter what's going on. Good for you.
Some days it's better than others.
Sure.
There are some days where I've cried. It's okay to cry, people. It releases emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the news. I try my best to stay away from the news. I mean, my mom has it on. I'll listen to some of it, but it upsets me. And for a while, I had a bad habit of checking the numbers, which Joanna, I think your sister-in-law, because I know she's involved with statistics, she was saying not to trust all the sites with their numbers because some of them
trust
are
any
skewed.
of the numbers. Just point blank, she doesn't trust any of them because of the way the methodologies are so inaccurate.
And by the way, that question I asked, what's the impact of color on human psyche? I was referring to like colors, like of clothing and surroundings, because
colors. Yeah, okay.
I was reading in this book Joyful by, I forget the name of the author, but she was talking about like scientific studies on the impact of color on mood.
Yeah, well, and color certainly affects mood, doesn't it? I mean, I can just tell from what you're wearing. You're wearing these very brilliant red colors. I mean, clearly color is important to you.
Red's one of, if not my favorite color.
Yeah, nice. And it's a very warm color, so that shows off a warm personality.
Thanks.
So you are into poetry, and you wrote something one time under one of our videos that kind of caught my attention, that you actually use our show for inspiration for your poetry.
Sometimes.
I mean, at all is amazing.
Yeah. What I like to do is I like to read new age books, take notes, highlight, and then get conceptual inspiration from them.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's cool.
And Neville Goddard quotes William Blake a lot. Absolutely. And that sort of inspired me to launch my Instagram page and YouTube channel for positive poems.
Okay.
And when I was in college, my senior year of college, I took a class called Theories of Personality, where there was a unit on humanistic psychology. And then I wrote an essay comparing the works of thinkers like Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow to the poetry of William Wordsworth.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not kidding. That was legit my favorite school project I ever did, because I learned so much about the human mind, and it made me want to learn more.
I can see how that has such a broad panoply of possibilities. I mean, Wordsworth and Maslow are not two names I normally put in the same sentence. So, I mean, when you're drawing connections there, you have lots of range.
When I was in college, I used to write like fake college syllabi, and for one of them,
I love it.
One of them was I wrote a couple about like humanistic psychology and literature, where like students would read works by psychologists and compare them to books. Okay. And I really think that in the future, what English classes should do, like in high schools and colleges, should be to, they don't have to read the woo-woo stuff if they choose not to. But what I would like to see them do is connect the psychological text to the literary texts, and in in a psychological perspective for kids to understand more clearly about who they are and what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a big issue, because a lot of kids come through high school with no idea what they want to do and with very little idea of who they are. So certainly anything that contributes to that is going to be helpful. Personally, I think that Dan Mangaina's book should be included. I mean, that's maybe I'm a little bit biased, but that's what I think.
I will accept this accolade. I was told once humility is a form of dishonesty, and so thank you.
You're welcome.
Listen, my life isn't perfect always. I have I have rough days sometimes, and I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert at LOA, because I'm not. I am a beginner. I am an amateur. I'm a student in the Earth School, as Gary Zukov says.
Okay. That's fair. That's good. Well, I mean, Sherlock Holmes described himself as an amateur. He was an amateur detective, So I actually think that amateur and expert actually belong in the same sentence. Because...
that sounds like a good line in a poem.
Okay, well, take it. It's yours.
I think I'll quote you on that, Walt.
Okay. No, I really believe that's true. I think one of the things that's coming out of this whole COVID experience is a realization that experts are human beings, and it's probably not a good idea to put them up on pedestals. So kind of
no. I know people give Dr. Fauci a hard time, but I feel bad for the guy.
It's a tough position. He can't win.
Like, just imagine him coming home to his wife being like, "Oh, what'd it say?"
Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing. Anybody who's ever been on a pedestal knows it's not a fun place to be.
And I think people aren't the only things humans put on pedestals.
Oh, absolutely.
I think like jobs and accolades and accomplishments. When I first graduated from college, you know how a lot of women experience postpartum depression?
Well, not personally, but I know what you mean.
even though I have a job I love, I graduated with a job I love after college, I still experienced post-grad depression because I had the belief that if I did not come out with a big epic novel by a certain time, then my talent would be wasted. Like, I was defining my self-worth by that, because I thought I had to prove myself to my former teachers and my friends and family. And so I would force myself to write when I didn't want to, rather than going the effortless way, as Neville Goddard says. And then until recently, after a while, I realized that, ironically, taking breaks can actually be more productive, because it naturally opens up the space for creative ideas to flow.
Sure.
I mean, this is not to say to be lazy. I mean, there have been a lot of times where, of course, after recharging my batteries, where writing something down, even if I fear of what people will think or about the future, just releasing it makes me feel better. And
sure.
One thing I learned during this time is that it's not writing itself that caused me stress, but rather the fear of the outcome of what would happen after I write. Like, would people like it? Would people not? Should I be writing, or should I just take a break to allow ideas to flow, like how the LOA people say? Like, all these rules were going around in my head.
Mhm.
But here's the thing. During my 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 break time, I watched a lot of funny stuff. Like I love SpongeBob.
Okay.
I watch a lot of SpongeBob, Always Sunny, and like watching this stuff, I'm like, you know, the people who write these shows, they probably write this stuff and not care if it's a good continuity or not.
Well, look at the South Park. That was like a joke for them, but it's
Oh,
like been one of the most successful.
Yeah, I realized that, like, I can write for fun, do it out of love, do it out of fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like write as if you're a little kid watching something that makes you laugh.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. That's good.
Daniel, like you, I'm an individual on the autism spectrum. And I saw an article back, like a headline saying how kids on the autism spectrum relate to SpongeBob. And like some people theorize that SpongeBob might be on the spectrum. And I couldn't agree more, in a good way though. And so that's part of why I think SpongeBob is such a great role model, is that he's so positive.
I have to admit, I'm not like I think I've maybe watched one episode of SpongeBob ever in life. I feel quite ashamed now that I'm not supporting the whole
No.
family.
Oh.
But I'm gonna watch some more SpongeBob. But I do give you.
I think we lost Alex. I don't see her in the Zoom.
She'll relog in. I think she's probably either taking a call or had a recharge issue, but she'll log back again.
Okay.
She'll look back.
I'll watch for her.
Okay.
I definitely hear where you're coming from, though, in terms of putting the pressure on yourself. I think this is one of the things that stops people taking a lot of positive action in their life, being caught up in other people's expectations, other people's beliefs, what's going to happen this, rather than, like you said, doing it for the love. And even in terms of manifestation, being able to step out into something, having a clear guide on what we want to get from it in terms of how we feel, and then surrendering to the process, that's where the fun and the adventure in life really, really comes.
Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, like what you, Joanna, and Louis D'Souza talked about yesterday on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I like to listen to podcasts while I eat my meals, and I'm a really slow eater, so I like to write in my notebook while listening to podcasts, like, educate myself. Like I like to listen to Gaia TV episodes and take down notes.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's good. And you've ended up writing poetry that you felt good enough to share, because it was cool. You actually reached out to me. I mean, it wasn't like I was going to look for you. Reached out and said, "Hey, I've got some poetry." That meant you felt good about it. You felt good about what you wrote. You wanted to include it. You wanted to be part of the conversation. So I'm really intrigued. I know that all of us, Daniel, Alex, we're all intrigued, and listeners are intrigued too, to find out.
Alex, you're back.
There's Alex. Yeah, she's hooking back in.
You missed my SpongeBob comment and Daniel's reaction.
Dang it.
I said that SpongeBob, in a good way, could be on the autism spectrum, and that he's also a good role model because he's so positive. He knows. Yep.
I totally agree. Sorry about that. My phone had died, and I thought I had it on the speed charger, but apparently it was the regular charger.
Ah, yes. Well, that happens.
So now I'm on the speed charger. So
you're back. That's the
main charger of the wrong speed.
Trying to do Zoom while you're on 1%. That's the struggle.
Yeah.
Hashtag the 1%.
Not quite what most people mean by that, but okay. So share something with us. Give us a taste of what your poetry's like.
Well, I have a video of this. This is one of my newer. You know what? Actually, let me pull out my phone because it's on my Instagram page, but I don't have it printed. This is one of my older poems. Okay. How to Write a Book Without Really Trying.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds like a good title.
Okay. It's weird searching for yourself.
That's fair. Well, tell you what, while you do, I'll give you a
No,
little
I got
moment
it. I got it.
You got it? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. How to write a book without really trying. The best way to write a story is to do nothing. You're probably thinking, that's contradictory. When you keep saying, I need to write a novel, you'll continue feeling awful. Impatience creates resistance. Artistic creation you cannot force. Let manifestation run its course. Willpower will make you sour. You might be fearful as a writer to surrender. To be truthful, uncertainty is uncomfortable. Surrendering is not slacking. Surrendering is allowing. When you live in the now, you allow. When you stop being a fighter and you let the universe be your ghostwriter, you break the curse. When you release the need, you are at peace, freed. You place the seed, clear the field, creation and inspiration, you will yield. This spark is the mark. To see glory in your story, don't moan, let go, let it grow on its own. Unexpectedly, creativity will rise to your surprise, making you want to pursue, want to care, to the point where your endeavor won't feel like effort. Since the vision has reached completion, in the subconscious, the realization, the creation is effortless. Learn to love yourself. In turn, I guarantee you'll see a book on the shelf.
Wow. All right.
Nice.
Very nice.
Or the snapping, they usually.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. There we go. So, by the way, there was one line there that you uttered, and I had never heard that particular phrase before. I liked it. You said, willpower will make you sour. Ooh, yeah.
I made it up.
That's exactly right.
So, in coming up with rhymes, it is not easy. But it's fun to do because, you know, a lot of modern poetry doesn't rhyme. I'm not a lot of modern poetry. I'm not going to give names, but I'm not a fan of. Like, people write like this stupid stuff, and it's like, and then let's just say that it's on the shelves of Walmart, and
Okay.
Shots fired.
I shouldn't know. I shouldn't say.
Well, now we know for sure you have a position, you have a viewpoint, and you defend your viewpoint. And that's a good thing for a poet or any kind of author to do, because if you can't defend your viewpoint, you can't express it clearly. You know how to express it clearly.
Yes.
And that's the key thing. That was the biggest takeaway I took from your poem. You were not only, I mean, yes, you were doing rhyming, and obviously rhyming does take some practice, but you were using your structure to communicate. You weren't just throwing out random thoughts. There was a thread running through it, and that's the art, is creating that thread and making it clear enough that anybody following the poem can understand what the thread is.
Well, one of the narrations, bear with me. It's in my closet. I'm gonna go get it.
Okay.
This is totally unprofessional of me.
This is a very relaxed podcast.
Yeah.
Par for the course around here. Tell you what, I will do though. What's that, Daniel?
Here, I got it. This
Okay.
Poems that will change your life.
A lot of these poems have really, like the poets in here have been role models for my poetry. Like, one of them is Edgar A. Guest. He has some really good poems in here. Who else? Ella Wheeler Wilcox. She's good too. And
I have to ask, did
you know, similar
did the title actually live up
similar
to its
to
title?
how
Did the poems actually change your life? Because that's what the title of the book is.
I mean, they didn't change my life like woo, but they served as
They were an
as like
influence.
yeah
Stepping off point.
Right.
yes.
How often does lasting change happen in the book? Normally it happens with the...
Oh yeah, it takes time. you know, just like how I know it's cliche to compare growth to a plant, but it's a cliche because it's true.
Yeah, it's a pretty
Yeah.
good comparison.
Mhm.
Plant, just how plants need time to grow.
Hmm.
Humans do too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, if they didn't grow, they
Need
wouldn't. Be
time and
plants, really.
harvest, as Neville Goddard says.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So okay. Um, and what do you have something else to share with us?
Yes.
Okay.
My this was my most recent poem. I did a video on it a couple days ago. I am light. I am light. I work day and night, doing whatever deed in times of need. I'm electricity, powering every city. I aid wait staff and table service. I light up every office. I light up the floors of all kinds of stores. I make way for transportation vehicles. I communicate through Morse code signals. I am the radiant sunshine, helping flowers bloom from the vine. I gleam from the crown of every tree. I am a source of vitamin D. I shine inside and out of crystals with my divine sparkles. I am clarity, I am unity, but I cannot talk about my spark without first thanking the dark. I cannot go on any pilgrimage without my mirror image.
Very nice. All
I
right.
like that. I like that.
I like the fact that basically you did a poem about what I would call source energy, which is really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
that was one of the hashtags I used when I shared it.
Yeah, yeah. I can't actually. I'm sure there are other poems that have done that, but that's the first one I can think of. So that's pretty cool. I like.
Yeah.
Well, Gary Zukov has a chapter in here called Light, and that was one of the inspirations for that poem.
Okay. Yeah.
And what I do when I highlight these books is that the stuff about like negativity, ironically, I highlight in yellow, and then the stuff about positivity I highlight in pink because you know I'm a girl, I like pink.
Interesting thing about pink, by the way, you may not know this. Back in the 19th century, the colors were reversed.
What?
Mhm.
What do you
You know
mean?
that?
Blue was for girls and pink
the
was
blue
for boys.
color, and blue was the girl color. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of come full circle, hasn't it?
It kind of has, yeah. Well,
My brother-
it's gone all around your head. I mean,
Yeah, I remember one time there was like there was a commercial on Nickelodeon saying that like only a true man wears pink.
oh really? I didn't see that one.
Yep,
That's
I remember
pretty
that.
Oh my God!
Yep. My brother follows that to the T. He is a very salmon-colored man.
Salmon.
He does the salmon. He does the corals.
Yeah, they don't like to call it pink though. They say salmon.
Yeah. I mean, he lives in Miami, so it's par for the course.
I
that's
am
almost
about that
normal
salmon life. I'm very much I'm the salmon life.
You're all about that salmon life.
I am. I've got some tailored salmon shirts. They're pink. But
They're pink.
I feel comfortable enough.
Yeah.
This was pre-Olga though. I haven't really been about the pink life since then. I don't know how she would.
Well, who said that pink has to determine gender? Like
I wasn't
colors.
saying that.
Colors that. No. I know. I'm just saying, like.
Anybody got time for that? Is what I'm expecting.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not.
Exactly.
I'll be expecting that.
We're not going to use the W word right now.
No. Colors are non-binary. Then leave it at that.
Yes.
Non-binary.
They're just colors, people. It's like I was
Yep.
telling my niece was telling me the other day. She's like, I'm so mad. I said, why are you mad? She said, because I like rainbows, but I'm not gay, so I can't put rainbows on my Instagram. And I'm like, wow. Sorry, I didn't choose it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, you can put rainbows on there if you want to. It has nothing to do with anything.
And that's another thing. When I write, sometimes I would worry about like, or is this culturally appropriate? Like if I decide to include like a love story, because like a lot of personal growth circles and feminist circles talk about loving yourself before you love others. I mean, that I definitely think that's true, but what bothers me is when people consider it misogynistic or like unfeminist for a girl to be in a relationship with a guy because it's, you know, quote, not independent. You know what I mean?
I love the air quotes. I can't.
So that was another rule that I decided to smack out of my head.
Yeah. It's 2020. We're over that.
Sorry, that's a stupid analogy. And worrying about rules is another major form of writer's block. And speaking of rainbows, I have another poem called "To All the New Rainbow Children."
Ooh.
Well, I came up with this because there's the indigo children and the crystal children. And then they say that the next like generation of those psychic children is the rainbow children. And so that, and they're saying that, you know, there's going to be a COVID baby boom. And
There
so, yeah. And my
That's not
cousin
hard
just
to
had it.
My
Yeah,
gyno
my
told me
cousin-
that.
My cousin just had a baby, and a friend of my brother's just had a baby, and my neighbor, she was due a couple of days ago, but I don't think she's given birth yet. And so, I mean, by the time she's watching this video, I think she probably has given birth. So congrats,
Oh, okay.
Carrie, baby. But anyway, the poem I wrote in celebration of that is called "To All the New Rainbow Children." Arrival of new individuals, new students on the school of earth, creating miracles from conception and birth. Sensitive, yet also intuitive, the rainbow children are here to turn us away from fear towards wonder and play. They don't follow any rule. They use their imagination, for in the earth school, that's the best education. As their name implies, they experience all the color strength, all the smiles, laughs, tears, and cries as they develop relationships with those around them. Teachers, friends, and families broaden the spectrum of their magnificent abilities. They hold the mirror to our inner truth, and that is our inner youth.
Very nice. Ooh. I
That
like
works.
how uplifting your poems are. I mean, you know how I am about your daily dose of happy. That's my big thing, and
Yes.
that's what I'm feeling from your
Well-
poetry. Very
Well,
uplifting.
your people, one of the when COVID, well, I was actually I made a few videos before the outbreak, but the outbreak really prompted me to make more because I knew that people were going through a hard time, and, you know, I wanted to cheer them up because I wanted to be cheered up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when the outbreak first started, I said to myself, I'm only watching comedies.
That's
Good
how you
for
do
you.
it.
Good play.
But surprisingly, I actually love horror movies, despite you guys thinking I'm a positive person. I
Wait,
love horror movies.
that's just blown my nugget a little
I
bit.
do. I do.
I like poetry and I like a little bit of murder on screen.
I love the movie Hereditary. That's one of my favorite.
I
most
can't watch horror.
recent-
Did anyone see that
neither
film
can I.
Signs? Did anyone watch the film Signs with Mel Gibson and
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix?
I
There
did.
was one scene,
Mhm.
one scene where they show the aliens walking in. I'm already getting goosebumps thinking about it. I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah,
No.
same.
I know a few of you are Harry Potter fans.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
You're not talking to the Temple of Harry Potter initiates. The high priestess of the
well,
Temple of Potter.
I was never a huge Potterhead, but I liked the first two movies, particularly the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was little, the second one scared me with the spiders
sure.
and the snake. When the
Yeah.
people were petrified, I was like, oh my God, so scary.
Mhm.
But yet, the funny thing is that when I was younger, even if a scene scared me, I was propelled to watch it again because I liked the thrill. I think
Yeah. Well, that's just
Yeah.
it. That I think that's why horror movies are so popular, exactly for the reason you just described. Not that people want to live that experience, but because they like the
It's
thrill.
like a roller coaster
I
ride.
was just gonna
Yeah.
say that it's the roller coaster effect.
That's
Mhm.
exactly what
No,
it is.
thank you.
Yeah,
Hard pass.
I don't do roller coasters or horror films. No,
I do roller coasters.
no, nope. I don't like that jumpy feeling in my stomach. Mm-mm.
We went. Me and Olga went to. We went to
But-
Coney Island in
Mhm.
the last summer.
But saying that you're scared of horror movies does not make you a chicken. It means you're
No.
brave because you're admitting your vulnerability, as
Exactly.
Brene Brown says.
Oh, slam dunk. Oh, touchdown.
No, that's true.
No, I'm never ashamed of being a giant scaredy cat. Not at all.
And let's be perfectly honest, everybody likes different kinds of stuff. I mean, I was never much
Yeah.
into horror. I would walk into a horror film and just start laughing, and I had to leave because I was ruining it for everybody else, so I just couldn't stay. But I love like detective stories, murder mysteries.
Mhm.
Now, is that really all that different? I mean, it doesn't
Yes.
have the graphic stuff in front of you where it's like,
Did any of
ride-
you
you can
did,
ride the roller
did any of
coaster.
you did any of you see Parasite?
No,
I have not seen
no,
Parasite.
no,
So good.
not once, not never.
It's not on my list. Sorry.
It's okay.
Well, it's on another list, the one that I'm not watching.
Right?
Half is hard in that on that one.
Yeah, it's a hard pass for Alex.
Which is unusual.
No,
There is no whole lot you will watch.
You know what we should do? You know what we should do? Like if I come back, we should do like spiritual. I meant to, like spiritual movie analysis kind of, because on Gaia TV, Jay Dyer and Jay Widener had a show called Hollywood Decoded, where they would analyze specific movies and talk about the esoteric meanings in them. It would be cool if you guys, and maybe call me if you want some, contribution.
Hint, hint.
Like we take a movie and then analyze like the LOA or conscious creator meanings in it.
I
Like
think.
that.
Well, didn't we do that with What Dreams May Come? I think we did it like a
Yeah.
year ago, something like that.
We've done a few movies. We've done a lot of books, but occasionally we've
Yeah.
done a movie. Yeah. And
Yep.
movies can have the same kind of impact. No doubt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big facts.
I mean, just quickly, let's name a few. What are your favorite, what we'll call generically a spiritual movie? What's your favorite spiritual movie?
Well, I don't know if I would call it spiritual per se, but when I was little, I loved The Land Before Time.
Oh.
And
Right?
yes, I'm telling you, the Don Bluth Universal animated movies like Land Before Time, An American Tale. I liked some of those better than like the regular Disney animated movies
Mm-hmm.
because they were uplifting, but they also showed the hardships of life.
Right. They showed reality.
You know what I mean?
I like that. That's good.
It was like a little too hardcore for Disney, so they had to soften it up and do it again.
I haven't seen it. I don't think.
Oh man, Land Before Time, classic.
Yeah, it might have been when I. What year was it?
1988.
Yeah.
I was in my. No, there was no Land Before Time in Mum's house. That wasn't going to happen. Isn't that the one with the dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one contradicts the Bible, so it wasn't getting.
Oh jeez.
Mm.
So sorry.
It's okay. It was, I remember that there was this documentary series created by this Christian scientist. You didn't see an air quote. Oh, sorry, yellow box isn't on me. Why did I just say?
You snitched on yourself.
Expose myself. But the guy, the scientist, basically went on to show how, basically give biblical explanations for why science is wrong about dinosaurs.
Blasphemy.
Look, I mean, Like,
How
I don't,
proven? It was interesting.
when I
So-
watch it, I'm open to the possibility of dinosaurs, but I'm not like, this is real. You know what I mean?
It's just.
I mean,
a
I
cartoon.
respect
It's okay.
your beliefs. Okay, let's not get into religion and politics.
Well,
Not
I mean, in real terms, I mean, we could ask the question: how do we know dinosaurs were real? Have you ever met
Well,
one?
that was always my point. How do we know? Besides fossils.
I watched Jurassic Park, so I know they're real.
that was another movie my brother and I loved when we were kids. We would watch it over and over again.
I loved that one. I watched of the new reboots. I watched the first one, but I haven't seen the second one. Alex.
Oh, you know what? It just came in my mind. You know what movie illustrates an individual at a young age using their consciousness to a higher level? Matilda.
True.
Okay.
Very true.
Matilda was boss.
Yeah. I watch it every time it comes on. Not gonna lie.
It's on the list.
It's on the list. Which list is it on?
Yeah, which list?
Well, I suppose I should clarify. No. I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you'll like Matilda, Walt. I really do.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've got a couple of recommendations. Lily recommended Good Witch. I got to check that one out too.
The show or the movie?
Yeah.
As
Well,
a
I think you were talking about the show, but it could be either one, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into that.
as a Brit, I have to protest watching
Okay.
it versus reading the book. Because key things
I like to read the book first too, Daniel. It's okay.
key things have changed in Matilda that I don't think Rolly D would be very happy about.
Rolly D.
I like that.
Just saying.
That's
Danny
Yeah.
DeVito
one of those
was a pleasant
ongoing things, though.
representation, but key things changed. That
I mean,
I don't know.
when it comes down to actually taking a book and putting it into a movie, you've already lost because you can't get more than a fifth of a book into a movie. There's just no way to do it. You
Yeah,
have-
and
you have a certain amount of time to work with, and that's it.
speaking of adaptations, I've been talking about Dune a lot in the chat. They're not adapting the entire book. I'm talking about the upcoming Dune in December. It's only the first half. And if the
They're making a new movie of Dune. Is that what you're saying?
yes, it's
Oh,
coming
okay.
out in December.
Okay.
I read the book during quarantine.
There's something poetic about that.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I'm not kidding. That's not meant to be a joke. I mean, it's like
Okay.
literally there's something poetic about that because Dune is a desert planet.
Yes.
I mean, they were basically on their own there, and that's what it feels like to be in quarantine. You feel like you're on your own.
Okay, I
Yes.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I mentioned like the Bene Gesserits, and it connects to like Buddhist stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
And when I this is sort of off topic, but like
We have a topic right now.
right. When I journal, because journaling is very helpful for me in terms of gathering my ideas. When I journal at nighttime, I like to listen to music, calming music. I like to listen to this Icelandic band Sigur Rós. They have they've really have just calming songs that I don't know if it's 528 hertz, but they could be using it without them being conscious or aware of it.
Sure. I know.
I love movie soundtracks. There's a track at the end of the Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack. All the Best Memories Are Hers / Tears and Rain. That like, it's like when I hear it, it's so transcendental. And that's why I like to leave that song last when I journal. And then after that song plays, I like to put on like a meditation or some ambient sounds.
Do you? Everybody's going to have a different answer on this one, so obviously there's no wrong answer. But do you, in some ways, equate music and poetry? Do you feel like they cover much the same territory?
sometimes I mean, they both have rhythms, and there's certainly a lot of lyrics that are poetic depending on the song. But I wouldn't call every form of music poetry.
Okay.
Because some lyrics are, just
Very poetic.
yeah. There are lyrics that are very poetic, and then there are lyrics that are, informal. Let's party and have a good time. Like, yeah, it's a great beat, but I don't consider it poetry. I mean, I don't mean to sound like snobby or pretentious, but like, you know what I mean?
Well, sometimes you have to sound snobby or pretentious in order to get your point across. It's a valid point. It's your perspective. Your perspective's always going to be valid.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, that's what it comes down to. And there are going to be people who don't like my perspective or your perspective or someone else's perspective, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's why it's your perspective.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Agreed.
So, Walt.
Yes, ma'am.
What are some of your favorite books? Like fiction.
Books?
Fiction.
Oh,
I am a Harry Potter fan. I enjoy all the books. I am not one of those who gets all upset about the movies diverging from the books, with one exception. And the exception is because I understand how difficult it is to make a movie, particularly from the later books in the series, which were like, twice as thick as most encyclopedias. I mean, there's just no way you're going to get a good movie out of that. But my one objection to the way the Harry Potter books at the last two books were put into the movies is that they included some themes about especially in the 7th and 8th movie, about the relationship among the three main protagonists, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and how their relationship had changed, and they're out in the forest, and they're basically fending for themselves. And there were very definite themes that were built up in the movie about that relationship. And they had the opportunity to play them in the movie, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that bothered me. I mean, I understand you can't fit everything in, but if you're going to put something in, be true to the book, is what I'm saying.
I agree, because I felt like
completely different.
I felt like that was the driest part of the movie. Was that the relationship, that there was something under there, but it wasn't enough.
It just didn't capture what was in the book.
Yeah, agreed.
What else? What other fiction books do you like? And Daniel and Alex, feel free to pitch in and talk about.
I have no favorite things.
You guys.
Yes. We don't
I like
talk
Holmes
about Daniel's favorite things. Holmes books?
I've read all the Holmes books 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
I actually have used the writings of Doyle to help me understand my own thought process. I like to use some of his aphorisms. One of my favorite aphorisms from Doyle is the idea that when you have eliminated the improbable, whatever remains must be the truth. And it's a tough concept. It's an important concept within a detective novel, but it's also an important concept in life. Whenever you remove the impossible, I said the quote wrong. Whenever you have removed the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth, is true.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way of getting through to understanding how life, the universe, and everything works. That's how you kind of like water, work through your way through the rocks and the crevices to find out what's on the other side. You do it through that method of, it's not impossible. So even if it's improbable, there's truth there. I just have to find out what that truth is. I like that aphorism. So I really like the Holmes books, not just because they're fun fiction, but because I learned from them. I really applied them in my life.
That means that, it really transcends time.
Yes.
Like,
and the Holmes series is actually a good example of that, because look how many different kinds of movies and television shows have been made based on Holmes over the years. Look at the current one with Cumberbatch in the lead role. So different from any of the ones before that, but it's excellent, and it's still true to Holmes.
There was a Cumberbatch Holmes?
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch played Holmes.
Wait. Did Walt just tell Alex about something on TV?
Hold on. TV timeout. Let me tell you something. He did not tell me about something about TV. He told me something about movies. Movies I am not an expert on.
No, Cumberbatch is a TV show.
It's a TV show, yeah.
What? Cumberbatch? What?
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch plays Holmes.
He's a movie star. What are y'all talking about?
Actually,
You
if
know what?
started
Good day.
watching
Good day.
it-
Y'all are
I'm
canceled.
gonna go in your Facebook group. Spoiler alert. It's like 5 seasons in or something.
What? Okay, did not know that.
Daniel,
Yes.
you read any fiction?
Nah.
Nah.
Dismissive.
I just don't really get into it. I have read a couple. Nah.
I love it.
Well, I'll pick up the slack. Top 3 favorite books. Not in any particular order because I couldn't order them. They're all in the top 3.
Amazing.
The Giver.
Hmm.
A Wrinkle in Time,
Oh wow.
and then of course the Harry Potter series.
Okay.
Good picks.
Good.
I like I don't know how to say this without coming off as a total snob.
Just go for it anyway.
Okay, I love Jane Eyre.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's just so before its time in that it depicted a heroine who learned to love herself first before committing to a romantic relationship.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's that's why that's why I think that Jane Eyre is such a great role model for girls.
Mhm.
Is that it's a
say for
novel
everyone.
about self-actualization as well as love. What else? Well, I really liked Dune. Dune was a really good book.
Have you read all 3?
I just finished. No, the first one. I just read the first one.
Oh, okay. I'm curious to know when you finish the other 2 books. Let me know what your take is, because I have to honestly say, Dune was interesting at first, and it kind of got a little bit.
Well, people on a lot of people online say that like the books written by his brother, Frank Herbert's brother, were, not so great. Watership Down. I love Watership
I love
Down.
that one. Yeah.
And I love the movie.
Yep. Yeah, that one I enjoyed a lot. That one I ought to revisit. I haven't read that one again.
What else? I love books by Mitch Abom.
What does he do?
I don't know him.
5 People You Meet in Heaven and The Timekeeper. Great
Yep.
stuff.
Love those. Well, the movies. I didn't read the books.
Alex works off the cliff notes.
Yep, definitely. That's how I wrote all my book reports, was from the back of the book. That's it.
I love it.
Mess around and give me an oral report. I'll tell you what happened on the back of the book.
There was a joke. There's
No,
the
go
joke I made one time. Nicholas Sparks invented Spark Notes.
Nicholas Sparks is the only person that can make me cry in a movie.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Piece of information there. Okay.
Do you have someone that makes you cry in a movie, or something that makes you cry? Like something in a movie where you're like, okay, that's it. The tears are coming out. Now you asked for it.
Well, the scene in Land Before Time where Littlefoot's mom gets
Oh!
crushed.
Oh
I
God!
don't know what's it now.
Oh God! Bringing it back. It's coming back. Oh no! Oh no!
Okay, so we know it works for you as well.
Yeah. Well, okay. First of all, I watched it when I was 1988, so I was 5. Okay, so but yeah, it all comes flooding back right now. Just Littlefoot.
Wow.
What about you, Walt?
Oh, geez. I actually I react with tears in situations where I can't point to a particular one right now that I can just point to, but where some major emotionally, usually positive shift happens. Well, I can think of one. It's from the movie about Alan Turing, The Imitation Game.
Imitation Game.
Yeah. At the point in the movie where they portray the breakthrough, where they actually break the Enigma code. And Benedict Cumberbatch as Alan Turing says, it turns out that Heil Hitler is all you need in order to be able to break the code. And that's like the major breakthrough, because they've been working through the entire movie trying to figure out how to break this code, and they finally did it. And they're all like stunned. They're amazed.
Oh, another one of my favorite books. It just came to Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, okay.
Classic.
Great series.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know this one either.
Well, it's probably
I've
that was
read
probably
hundreds of books, and of the hundreds of books I've read,
you've heard of none of ours.
there's maybe a dozen.
Listen, Daniel, we still like you. Don't worry.
Well, I
wasn't any
not,
doubt.
so I'm not sure how I feel. There was like a downgrade.
I'm dying. Oh.
I think this is a good
Not
time
to
to remind
think about
people who are not yet subscribers to become subscribers. Don't you think? We picked the strangest times to make these little announcements, and this seems to be a good time to do it. So, you know.
I was asking you guys about books you like, because I didn't just want to talk about myself. I wanted to, learn more about you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Now you know what it's like to be on a podcast where you're trying to keep the conversation going, right?
yeah. You guys helped me through so much during this time.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's wonderful to hear. That's really, I mean, we love it whenever we get somebody sending us an email or a Facebook message or, text message or something like that. And it's just as good, if not better, to hear it live this, talking to somebody. So, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we would do it anyway. Don't get me wrong. We would just do this if there was nobody listening, but it's so much better when we have that. It's just great. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah. I could tell you guys are always happy to have a guest. And I feel very humbled to be on here, especially since I've been listening to I listen to a lot of movie podcasts, and I always imagined, again, scripting, I always imagined myself like joining, like having a conversation on a podcast, talking about movies, and it came true.
How about that?
Infestation.
Yep.
One more item on the list.
Scripting is another thing I like to do in my journaling. Like I like to I like to script out news stories about COVID being over.
That's a good story. I like that one.
I like that too.
But what's interesting is that after scripting, like even though it's not fully gone, like after writing like COVID, like scripting down like something like COVID cases decreased significantly, the case numbers are going down.
They
as
are
reported. And another thing that's interesting is that I was writing a list. This was earlier during quarantine, a list of celebrity couples who could, have babies during this time. And two of those couples are now expecting.
Cool. There you go.
Who?
Yeah, I need to know who.
Lottery numbers for this weekend.
No, I'm not. I don't do lottery.
No psychic does. That's the first thing they'll tell you.
There's just me energy revolving around it.
I don't do celebrities either, but here we are. Have a great
do a lottery every once in a while for amusement.
Okay.
True.
Well,
I mean, it is funny. You gotta give it. It is funny on the screen when it says, "Sorry, you're a loser," just like the way it's written.
Would have been more interesting to know what the lottery numbers are, but I'd be very happy to hear about your other fortune-telling powers, which aren't as profitable.
I'm not a psychic. I'm not.
Maybe
it's funny.
I don't know it yet.
With that.
It's funny. There was an episode I was watching. There was an episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia where there's a psychic and he's a phony. And then he tells them that their mom is still alive. And then they go to the grave to dig her up. And then the dead body's there.
Oh,
and then Frank, Danny DeVito's character, is like, I paid off the psychic. It was so funny.
Wow.
I paid off the psychic. Oh dear.
That's
All these
quite
programs
morbid.
I've missed, I'm telling you.
Really quite,
We all
quite
got different tastes in humor.
That's okay. That's
rather
fine.
morbid.
It's like my wife has said this to me from the day that we met. She says, I think I'm hysterical. Nobody else gets my humor. Except
Well,
I get her humor, and that's why.
She's only projecting her own insecurities then.
Well, if you heard her say it, you would wonder about that. You would kind of.
I'm sure
it,
your
like,
wife is a very nice woman. I would love to see her on the podcast one day.
Actually, she did the first podcast with me. The very first one.
I know. I
7.5
heard
years ago.
you say.
Yeah. And she has been on occasionally. I have to admit, now this is a little bit of an insecurity thing for her. Lately, she's been saying, the last few times I've been on the podcast, there were technical issues. I don't want to comment on anymore because every time I'm on, there are technical issues. And I said, well, you realize that's an LOA thing you're doing. I don't care.
I don't care.
No, she's a psychologist, right? Or a psychotherapist?
A former psychotherapist. Yeah, she was in practice for about 10 years.
What does she do now, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, she runs the gardening business.
Oh, good for her.
When we're not in lockdown, that's the main income.
Right.
And she is pursuing, she just reached retirement age last year. So she is now kind of expanding her life and figuring out where she wants to go with it next.
Oh, how are your cats, by the way? I know you two have cats.
They're wonderful. Yeah, we got 2 black cats. And
they're
Joy
your
is
children.
the outside cat. Joy is a male, actually. And Harmony,
yeah, that's very confusing.
Very salmon name, I have to say.
Very salmon name.
But it fits him. I mean, I've said this before, but it fits him because if you interact with him in any way, he is the most joyful animal, not just joyful cat. I mean, he's as excited as many dogs. That's how joyful he gets. And he's also
Bye, Daniel. It was so nice. It was so nice to Zoom with you.
He's giving us the look. He won't even say it anymore.
Now,
You muted it.
I'm not going to be around.
How's your dog? And how's your dog, Alex?
Oh, I have 2 dogs and hold on. 5 cats.
Oh.
Yeah, she's got a menagerie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gem and I just
Let me
had cat
go.
kittens
I wanted
yesterday.
to show you this.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's a squishy.
Wow.
Well,
He's big.
thank you so much for allowing me to come onto the podcast and read
Our
some
pleasure.
poems and talk
No
about
problem.
Thank you for sharing your
movies
poetry.
and books. Yep.
Seriously, you read some really nice poetry, really good.
Thank you so
uplifting
much.
stuff. And I'll tell you honestly, I'm not a big poetry fan, but you kind of just made me a fan today. So thank you. That was really good.
Welcome.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Okay. Well, that was an unusual hour, but it was fun. I'm not sure what the topic was. The topic I think was poetry, and then like poetry kind of goes in any direction you want to go in. So that's okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good. But thank you guys very much. Thanks for dropping in, Josie. Thank you, live streamers who were kind of very quiet today, but they were paying close attention. So that's good. Thank you, especially to our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.